I'd like to turn it over to Attorney Sarah Gleason.
Thank you, Deb. Good afternoon, everyone. We're here today to consider a grievance brought by a custodian, Mr. Thomas Seminara, who is on the call, and also local 1303-110 of Council for AFSCME, so the union that represents Mr. Seminara. The purpose of this hearing is to give both the union and the administration a full and fair opportunity to be heard. The board will first consider the evidentiary portion of the grievance hearing. That portion is going to be held in open session, as we are in right now, in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. And then after the evidentiary portion of the hearing, the board will recess into a non-meeting for the purpose of conducting deliberations regarding the grievance. Once those deliberations are complete, the board will reconvene in open session to vote on the disposition of the grievance. The evidentiary portion will proceed as follows. First, the association will be invited to offer general evidence and arguments related to the grievance. After the association completes its presentation, the superintendent will present the administration's arguments. And then the parties will each have an opportunity for rebuttal if they so request. Board members and I may ask questions of the parties after their presentations, and I'll make sure to note when that opportunity arises. And just prior to the presentations, I'm going to ask that all board members present and anyone appearing on behalf of the administration or the association identify themselves by name and title. And since we're virtual and not kind of in a room together, I'll just kind of make it easy by going around. I'll just say each person's first name, and then if they can identify themselves for the record, so that we have it. I'll start with the board members that are in attendance. Lisa, do you want to go first? You're muted, Lisa.
Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Luft.
Thank you. Nicole?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Wallach.
Thank you. David?
Hello, everybody. I'm David Felton.
Sharon?
Sorry, I was having a bit of a technology issue there too. This is Sharon Ferraro.
Thank you. And then Deb, I'll let you introduce yourself again for the record.
Hi, I'm Deborah Lowe.
Are there any board members that I missed? Okay. We'll move on to the administration. Erica?
Good afternoon, Erica Forty.
Bill?
Good afternoon, everyone. Phil Cross. I just on a separate note, I'm not seeing Tommy or Tommy's phone on the panelist section. I'm not quite sure if he's able to hear us, if he's not as joined as a panelist.
Oh, thank you. Do we know what happened?
I just see he popped off and I think he's rejoining again.
Okay.
Now he's back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Can you see me? Because I'm not sure.
Yes, we
Now
can
we
see
can.
you now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seminar. We were just going through with introductions of who's on the call.
Hear everything. I was having a hard time getting into the meeting.
No problem.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm glad you're here now. I'll have Julie finish with the introductions for the administration.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Juliette Givoni.
And then Rob and Mr. Seminar, I'll let you introduce yourselves.
I'm Rob Montori. I'm with Council 4 of AFSCME.
And I'm Thomas Seminaro, custodian at Weston Middle School.
Thank you. And I'm Sarah Gleason, counsel for the Board of Education from Shipman and Goodwin. And then we have Jody as well on the call. Don't want to forget her. So I think that was everybody. So thank you very much. And as I said in that kind of opening, we will start with the association, and the association is invited to present any relevant information that it wishes to share. And then board members, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions after they do their presentation. So I'll turn it over to Rob and Thomas.
All right, so the union's contention, and Tommy will fill you in, is the employee has an accepted workers' comp injury. And Tommy will tell you his process that got him up to this point.
So I was injured coming home from work after shoveling, and I had a bunch of injuries that required surgeries, multiple surgeries, physical therapy. Each one of those surgeries required a healing process, physical therapy, and a bunch of other things in between. So I am still, I haven't reached my maximum medical improvement yet, and I'm still being treated by a doctor, and I'm going through the process still. And I feel like, you know, I've been there 22 years, so I didn't plan on this happening. And I just want, you know, I feel like I'm not getting, you know, a fair treatment by being terminated without reaching my maximum, you know, capacity of healing yet. So that's basically, you know, what's going on. And I just had a surgery a few weeks, you know, 6 or 8 weeks ago. I'm in physical therapy. And, you know, somewhere down the line, I never asked for indefinite time. I just asked to, you know, go through the process of healing and, you know, having a doctor tell me, you know, if a doctor tells me that he doesn't recommend that I should do this anymore, then it's something that I'm willing to accept and move on. But, you know, me being terminated, you know, while I'm still being treated, I feel like I haven't been given a chance. And, you know, like I've said in the past meetings, you know, I've been there for the school district, you know, 22 years for everything that they've ever needed through pandemics, through storms, you know, I've never said no, you know, and I'm not just the custodian there. I feel like I'm part of that community. I know a lot of parents, all the police officers and the kids, and, you know, that job was my life. And so, you know, I offered to, you know, I seen one of the doctors that,
I'm sorry, Tommy, may I interrupt for just one moment? Sarah, Deb got kicked off her internet and she asked if we could just pause for a few minutes. She's actually going to be coming over to the office here. She lives just a few minutes away so that she could have more of a stable connection to be able to continue and hear what's going on. Would we be able to do that?
Yeah, Rob or Tommy, do either have any objection to that, just so that she can hear everything that Tommy has to say?
I don't.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we'll just pause for
Yeah,
a few minutes because I know she wants to hear what you're about to say, Mr.
Yes,
Shin.
thank you.
Sure.
I apologize for interrupting. I'm going to put myself on mute for a moment.
Thank you.
Sarah, I'm gonna run out to my car. I'm at a client. I'm gonna run out to my car and get a bottle of water, so I'll be back.
Okay, thank you.
I put a notification up on my screen so people who are viewing will know that we're in recess for a few minutes.
Jody, do we have, I'm gonna just run to my car for a few minutes, but do we have like a rough idea? Can we just, are we planning to reconvene at 2:25? Like, is that enough time?
It shouldn't take her that long to get
Okay.
here, but I won't start without you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Did I mention the parking lot's 2 miles away? It's not, but just checking. All right, be right back. I'll be right
Yep.
back.
Jody, just so you know, I'm having a difficult time with the Google Meet. Google and I just are not friends. And I'm trying to get it. It won't go in Safari. It won't go in Chrome. It won't go in Google. So I don't quite know what to do on that one for the breakout or for the session.
Well, it's okay. I can start hosting that one because this is a non-meeting, and then I will just drop off.
Okay,
And
thank
let-
you. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Thanks.
Mhm. Okay, everyone, we're just waiting now for David Felton to come back online, and Erica and Deb will be ready.
I think we have David, so.
I'm here.
Okay. Erica and Deb, are you ready?
We are ready. Can you hear us?
Okay.
Deb
All
is
right.
here.
Sarah, handing it back to you.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you for that brief recess. And Mr. Seminaro, I'm sorry we kind of interrupted you in what you were relaying to the board, but I'll hand it back over to you to kind of continue with your information you wanted to share.
Yes, I apologize for my voice. I'm a little emotional over this, and it's a little tough for me. Spent almost half my life on that campus, and I've been a lead person almost the whole time that I've worked there, and I'm very familiar with the process of the schools, everything that goes on, and I offered to come in and do light duty, whatever was possible. If I have to watch a security screen, if I have to help secretaries, something to be, to keep my place, for the school and to help out the school during this process. It's just been really tough for me. Like I said, I had multiple injuries from this, and it's been a rough time, and I'm not a person that plays games. I take my job serious, and it's just it's really tough hearing those words that we can't use you anymore. And I never asked for an indefinite time of for you to hold my job. It's just I haven't been medically cleared yet. I'm still in treatment, and like I said, I don't. It's very hard to process for me. That place was my life, and it's what I love doing. And when I got hired, I was a young man, and I was asked if I was just coming there to get a check and leave. We're looking for lifers, and I told them, you know what, that's me. I was always a team player and always part of the front end, and so I just want, I want to have a chance to be able to finish the process that I'm going through. I've, like I said, it's very hard for me right now to describe the way I feel over this situation, because I've been there half my life. I'm 53. I've been there 22 years. So, and proudly, and I have all good reviews. And like I said, it's a small community, and from the seniors on, the senior center and on up, I know a lot of people in town, and I was always on the front line no matter what. If someone ever came to that school to do harm to anyone, I'm not one to run away from the fire. I run towards it, and always have and always will. And everyone knows that about me there. So I feel like, every time I've ever been asked and I've been needed, I've been there. And, it's like, I need the school to be there for me now. And I feel like I don't have the same. And it's really tough. It's a tough one to swallow. And, so it's that's basically what I'm going through right now. And I'm in physical therapy. I'm going through this process and trying my hardest. If I could snap my fingers and take it all away, I lost 2 years of my life. I don't know where it went. I would have much rather been working. I in 2020, 22 or 23, we had a lockdown in there, and it was a drill, and the kids were playing around with the shades, and the teacher couldn't get the shade down. And when I got called to the room and pulled the shade, I had a 25-pound steel beam hit me in the back of the head and split my head open, where I passed out on the ground, and they picked me up. And I returned to work in 2 days. If I was some kind of game player, or someone that takes advantage of the system, that would have been the time to do so. So this is not a game for me. My health is involved, and I never thought in a million years that this would have happened to me, and I never thought that I would be dismissed, without, being able to, go through the process. It seems like a long time to everyone, but, for 5 months, I had to wear a steel cage around my back and body and couldn't move or leave the house. I fractured vertebrae and tore rotator cuffs, and each one of those things required attention. And so, the time to me is, I lost track of days and time. It's been like the Twilight Zone to me. So, as it may seem long to the school, and I understand that they have a building and operations to run and all that, but I never asked for, indefinite time. I just asked to heal up. And, when I seen your doctor, he told me that I could do light duty. And as long as it's under the restrictions of lifting. And unfortunately, I know that custodians don't have light duty, but I'm capable of doing anything, and is willing, but I was told no. So I just, at this point, I really don't know what to do, but I definitely know that I want to continue working. I'm too young to retire, and I'm too old to start at the bottom somewhere, and I don't want to. That I love that place. I love that town, and it's basically where I'm at right now. And like I said before, I've told you in the past meetings that, when this is over, if the doctor says, "Look, Tom, I don't think it's a good idea that you should do this anymore," then sadly I'm going to have to accept that. But I haven't been told that. I'm going through this process, and it's I want to be able to finish, and I want to be healthy and come back, and I plan on it. And I just feel like that, because I haven't been giving, you asked me when I'm going to return, and I can't just make up a date and say, hey, a couple of weeks, because I haven't been given that by a doctor, by your doctor, by the treating doctor that I'm seeing. So it's basically in their hands, and and that's where I'm at right now. I'm kind of at that stage where, as soon as they say yes or no, I'm ready. I just want to be given that chance, and it's all I can ask for. I appreciate, you guys listening and allowing me to explain my situation, and I just hope that somebody will reconsider, and that, I'll be given a fair chance to prove myself. Like I said, if secretaries need help folding papers and whatever they need, I'll do it. But I don't want to be shut out like that. I never turned my back on that place ever. And I just, it's my job. It's all I know. And without it, I don't know what to do. So this has not been easy for me, and the timing of all these meetings and everything, right before surgery, right before, after surgery, it's been tough, so that's basically it. That's all I have to say, really. And I really appreciate and thank you for giving me the opportunity to try to explain myself. It's a little tough for me right now because I said I'm emotional over this, and I'm trying my best to convey, the situation, and that's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Seminaro. I appreciate you going through all of that with the board. Rob, do you have anything you want to add before we wrap up your portion? I think you're muted, but
The only thing I'll add is there, again, we don't have any contractual language that says the person has to return. I agree with Tommy. He never asked for unlimited unpaid leave. He's asked to reach maximum medical improvement. But, when we get the letters back that state he's asking for indefinite leave, he isn't. And I agree with him. Any answer he gives you outside of a doctor, it would be a lie. Only the doctor can say when he can go back to work. I mean, we're not qualified to even know what his injury is. None of us are. That's why we send them to doctors. And you guys are free to send him. You have contractual language. Doesn't limit you to send them only once. You could send them multiple times. He's willing to go to any physician you send him to. There, as he has stated to me, he has nothing to hide on this. So, he's willing to do anything, light duty, whatever he has to do, go to your doctors. It's just, I mean, I don't have to rehash it. You heard what he said. He feels like no one's giving him a shot here.
thank you. At this time, if the board members have any questions for Mr. Seminaro or for Rob and the association, feel free to ask those.
Hi, Mr. Seminaro, thank you for being here this afternoon and thank you for your service to the Weston schools. If you're willing to share, can you share anything more specific about what medical advice or medical diagnosis or medical prognosis that you've had in the fairly recent past that you can update us with? And again, only to the extent that you're willing to share that.
Well, I had a metal plate put in my neck, and I've been going to physical therapy for that because my neck is there's no motion to it. That plate is kind of restricting me, and they're trying to get some type of motion back. And I have a herniated disc in my lower back that I just had an epidural for 2 days ago. And so at the moment I'm in physical therapy, and I'm hoping that this is the last leg of this process. But that's basically medically where I'm at right now. I still have restrictions on lifting and I'm still temporary, totally disabled is what they're calling it when, the doctors, but I'm hoping to have that terminology changed sooner the better. I'm just following their orders. I'm going through this process, and like I said, I had a full torn labrum and rotator cuff repair. I had spinal fluid leaking out of my nose. I had to have a CSF leak repair. I had, you know, I got hurt really bad. So it's been a long road but I'm tough. And like I said, I've always said from the beginning that if they tell me I can't do it, then you know, I'm not going to lie to anyone, myself, you guys, anyone. I'll just have to take it the way it is and not do it. But I don't give up like that. You know, I'm just, you know, I'm not like that. I'm a fighter and, you know, I want my fair chance. You know, I came into that school during a pandemic when everyone stayed home, when I didn't know if I was going to bring something home and kill my family. You know, I came in and wiped the walls and gave the children back all their stuff and labeled it and ABC'd it while they lined up outside to come get it during every storm. Every storm Sandy, you know, set up for the you know, the soldiers that were in there. You know, like I could sit here for an hour and go down a list, but you know, it's my job and I love my job. So, you know, it's not like there's not other people that are in the same boat as me as far as, you know, their job ethics and what they do for the school. But this is about me, you know, and I've seen in the past, I've seen the board give people opportunities and chances there that they haven't been there as long as me. They haven't done what I've done, and they haven't been honest either. Some of them been, you know, caught stealing and put in prison and, you know, stuff like, you know, some people have gotten a lot of passes in there that didn't deserve it. And I feel like, you know, me with a clean slate is not, you know, I'm not getting, you know, I'm not getting the same treatment, and I'm confused over it because I'm not a stranger there. You know, I know there's a lot of new people there, but, you know, like Lisa hired me, you know, 20 something years ago. And no matter how she left, good, bad, or whatever, I don't know that situation. But everyone knows me there. The cops, the paramedics, the towns workers, parents, I mean, you name it. You know, and I've always been there to extend my hand. And like I said, I never somehow in that terminology, you know, the word indefinite got put in there, and I never asked for that. I never said, hey, Rob, I need forever time to come back. I just need whatever time it's gonna take. And you know, it's just I've had a lot of stuff happen to me. So I'm hoping and praying that I'm on the tail end of this. But it just seemed, you know, it was, you know, I don't know who makes the decisions on that, but you know, they're quick to do so for me for some reason. And it's confusing because I have a good record there, you know, and you know, I treated that place like it was my home. I protected things and I protected, you know, I did everything I was ever asked to do. I went above and beyond for everyone, you know, and I just need I need that right now, you know. It's very hard for me to go through this healing process knowing that, you know, the place that I reported to every day, I would come in 50 minutes early on my own time, you know, and never charge for it. Just come in on my own time and start working as soon as I walk in the door, you know, and then punch in at the time that I'm supposed to punch in. And I've did that for 15, 16 years. You know, I've given that place a lot, you know, and I just, you know, this hasn't been a fun thing for me. I'm not out like, you know, celebrating, having fun. my life has been changed for the past few years, and everything from relationships to just my family, like they don't like seeing me like this, but it happened and I can't take it back. I wish I could.
Right.
And I'm sad because there's a lot of changes there. There's a lot of new board members, there's a lot of new people, and they don't know me. So whoever's feeding whatever being fed to them, it's sad because I'm people like me don't come around too much. I'm very loyal and very honest, and that's hard to find. You it's hard to find someone that truly cares and cares about the people in the community. And like I said, if anyone was ever to come to that school to try to hurt any one of those kids or anyone, I never was the one to back down. I would go outside before the security guards would, and I just feel, I would put my life on the line to protect those people there. And I need help right now. I need someone to give me a chance. And I don't know why this is happening or who's doing it to me. I don't know if it's personal. I don't know what's going on, but it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. My reputation and my records and my everything. It just doesn't match up right. So
I appreciate your added comments. So thank you. My questions are answered. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Nicole, do you want to have a question?
Hi, thank you for speaking today. I just am wondering, you mentioned that there are a lot of different types of jobs and tasks that you've offered to do. Have you received any type of indication or communication from your doctors and medical providers that said you can go back to do any type of work with some kind of accommodation?
I was told that I could go back on light duty as long as it's under a 10-pound weight restriction. And, unfortunately, my position requires, it's heavy lifting, it's shoveling, but I'm very familiar with the process of, I worked with everyone, at every department in there that ever needed a hand from me and whatever, I've done it, so I can do, I can aid secretaries. I can watch a monitor for the security guards. I can do stuff like that. I was security when I first started working there, and then they required you to be, have 5 years of police training and stuff like that. But before that, I was security guard for a year and a half, and they allowed us to work as custodians during the summer, and they liked what I did and offered me a position at Hurlbut. And I was at Hurlbut for, 10 years, and then the rest of my time in the middle school. So, I mean, I'm familiar with the whole campus. It doesn't have to be in that school. I could deliver mail. I could, I don't, and I never not offered to do so. I just wasn't given the opportunity. And, I want to still be productive to the school. I want to have a chance to have my job. I worked hard. I was making 11.57 an hour when I first started working there. I worked hard to get where I got to. And, no one expects to have what happened happen to me, and no one would want that to happen. So it's something that, could happen to anyone in everyday life. And then in the snap of a finger, everything's gone. And I just, I never planned on working anywhere else. I've carried myself in that district to to spend my life there and finish my life and my career there. And again, like I said, it seems like a long time to some, but they have no idea what happened to me then if they think it's, there's some game being played here, because there's not.
I apologize if I missed it from district leadership, but did you ever give the district a letter stating what you would be allowed to return to work to do and what the accommodations would need to be?
They are given to the workers' comp adjuster, and during these meetings, whenever I get my paperwork, like when I went to go see the school's doctor maybe a half a year ago, it was before one of my surgeries, and he told me that he felt like I could go back on light duty, and so they were aware of that during that situation. But again, my position doesn't have it. But like I said, I can do other things. I'm very well aware of how the whole school runs and the process of everything, because I was involved in everything. So
I have a quick question for you. First of all, thank you for coming today and for being so candid with us. I appreciate it in your 22 years with the district as well. You mentioned that you've had to have multiple surgeries. Is this all stemming from a single, if you care to share this with us, is this all stemming from a single incident, or were there multiple incidents that required multiple surgeries? That's my first question. And the second question is, working with your doctors, have you been given any sort of a prognosis? Clearly, nobody has a magic wand. You're not able to tell that there's going to be a timeline that you know specifically, but are the doctors confident that you're going to have a complete recovery so you can return to work in the capacity that you were before?
The first question is, it's all stems from one accident. And the second one is, that's what they're working towards. I just, like 8 to 9 weeks ago, I just had a plate put in my neck. So I'm going through the process of, like my mobility and the way I can move my neck is a little tough and stiff. So, they have to make sure that when I go back, it's under full capacity, because, it's a very aggressive job, and
Yeah.
these buildings are giant, and they're being run on a skeleton crew. So everyone has the job of 3 people in there, and so it's aggressive. You don't get, it's not like I'm going to say, hey, can you come give me a hand? I would work in there from 6 a.m, and my partner wouldn't come in till 12:30. So that means I'm taking care of the needs of 700 people, plus how many ever people are in that middle school, every spill, every requirement that's needed, every locker jam, every delivery, anything that requires something from my department and more. They use custodians to direct traffic when, when security guards aren't there, and some of them do it just because it's part of the job.
But some of the heavy lifting and things like that with a plate in your neck, are the doctors confident that you'll be able to return to full duty because that's a pretty invasive surgery, it sounds like to me. I'm no medical professional. So
that's the plan. I'm in physical therapy for it right now, and I'm, they're obviously they're going to build me up with the weights and see what I can handle. And I haven't been put through the whole process yet to find out, because I had a fully torn rotator cuff and labrum repair that put me in a sling for months. And so each of these surgeries required, time in between to heal, and then physical therapy. And, so it was like body part by body part. And, it just, these things, they take weeks and weeks to, for recovery. And like I said, the first 4 months I wore a cage around my body from my neck down to my hips and couldn't leave the house. I had to shower, sleep in it. And so that ate up almost a half a year of my time, and then as soon as that came off, I had to have a CSF leak repair, and, it cut my ear and went in my head and patched the spinal fluid leak. And that took time to recover. And then after that, I had to get that labrum repair and rotator cuff, and that held me up, and then physical therapy for that, and then the plate in the neck. And, so it's a bunch of surgeries that, kind of, I know it seems like a long time, but,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I'm coming down to the end of it, and that's what it seems like.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you. Like I said, I appreciate you being so candid with us. So thank you for that. I got the answers.
No problem. You're welcome.
Are there any other questions by board members?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to let you know I've heard everything that you said, and I appreciate, most importantly, the time and your commitment to Weston Public Schools.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So with that, we'll turn to the administration and allow the administration to present relevant information to the board.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Erica Forty, Superintendent. First, Mr. Seminaro, I just want to thank you for your years of service. I know we never had the opportunity to work together, but I really appreciate your dedication and your commitment to the Weston Public Schools, students, staff, community members, and families alike. My portion of the presentation is going to be pretty factual and to the point relative to a timeline and just the information specific to the timeline and engagements with Mr. Seminaro. So I'll start with a little bit of background. Mr. Seminaro sustained a work-related injury on January 7th, 2024, and has not been able to return to work since that day. His contractual workers' compensation supplement expired on June 30th, 2024. And he, at that time, did not qualify for FMLA due to insufficient hours worked in the preceding 12 months. However, the district recognized the really unfortunate nature of what occurred and what he was going through. So the district granted Mr. Seminaro over 1 full year of unpaid leave, which extended the time well beyond the contractual and statutory obligations. An independent medical examination happened on May 6th, 2025, and it confirmed that Mr. Seminaro remained medically unable to perform his custodial duties, and there was no date that could be identified for an anticipated return to work. The district engaged prior to me coming and after in several meetings and interactive engagements with Mr. Seminaro throughout this time. An ADA and accommodation meeting was held on August 5th, 2025. At this meeting, the district met with Mr. Seminaro and his union representative to discuss his inability to perform essential job functions related to his custodian role and to explore ADA accommodations. At this meeting, there was no date identified for a return to work. And at that time, the accommodation was an indefinite unpaid leave of absence, which is not considered reasonable under ADA. On September 18th, a Loudermill hearing was held. The meeting was held virtually at Mr. Seminaro's request and provided him an additional opportunity to present any new information or any updates based on his medical attention and treatment. He confirmed in this meeting that he was still not able to return and was medically restricted. And so the district reviewed the exhaustion of all statutory and contractual leave and also looked at the operational needs of the staff for essential custodial roles. Based on more than 20 months of absence, the inability to receive an effective return to work date and the unavailability of any reasonable accommodation that would allow Mr. Seminaro to resume essential duties, the district terminated Mr. Seminaro's employment on October 3rd, 2025. And again, this decision was made only after exhausting all the required contractual and leave provisions that are required by law, engaging in the ADA interactive process with Mr. Seminaro, providing opportunities for updates and progress throughout his medical journey, and also considering the district's operational needs related to custodial functions at the middle school. The district acknowledged his 22 years of service and made the decision with respect for his longstanding contributions. On October 6, 2025, a grievance was filed by the union on Mr. Seminaro's behalf. Excuse me. A step 2 grievance meeting was held on October 29th, 2025. During the meeting, the union argued that the district could have required additional medical examinations and that the CBA lacks some explicit language authorizing termination after the extended leave. But the district responded relative to Article 8, Section 8.7, titled Unpaid Leave, and grants the superintendent sole discretion to approve or deny unpaid leaves, and that decisions under this section are not subject to the grievance procedure. The independent medical evaluation, the district had already obtained an IME confirming the employee could not return to work, and no physician to date has released Mr. Seminaro to duty at any point since his injury. And number 3, that just cause exists, that both under the collective bargaining agreement and ADA, employers are not required to provide indefinite leave. The district did provide more than a full year of unpaid leave beyond the contractual and statutory requirements. And at that point, no reasonable accommodation would enable him to perform any part of the essential custodial functions. On November 4th, 2025, a formal Step 2 decision was issued to Mr. Seminaro in writing. And given the extended absence and the lack of any projected return date and the essential nature of custodial duties, the district didn't really have any other viable alternative other than termination, while acknowledging the dedication and service of Mr. Seminaro over the 22 years.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions for the administration?
I actually do have a question. One of the things that you had mentioned that Mr. Seminaro had did not qualify for FMLA based upon a lack of hours in the previous year. Is that correct?
That's correct. And if you don't mind, I'm going to ask Julie to step in to talk about the requirement necessary for FMLA in order to access it.
That would be great. Thanks, Julie.
Sure. Employees of the board, employees are required to meet a minimum number of hours worked within the last 12 months in order to be eligible for FMLA. And so it was determined that Mr. Seminaro had not met that minimum eligibility requirement.
Is that, and can you tell me, I mean, the minimal requirement, is that based on a 40-hour week? Is it, can you share that information with me?
The minimum requirement for federal FMLA is 1,250 hours. And our policy states that it's within a rolling period of 12 months.
And just so I can keep everything in perspective, would other custodians have been eligible for it? Or is this like kind of because I mean, custodians aren't necessarily a seasonal job, but I would imagine that there's less hours in the summer. But is that something that is a norm for a custodian to not have enough hours for FMLA?
No, it would be reasonable to expect that someone serving in that type of role on a full-time basis would have accrued the minimum number of hours for eligibility.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from board members?
The notion of light duty and other options, did the district pursue any of those possibilities, or were there any of those possibilities?
Phil?
take that. I'll start off with that. To be honest, I was not aware of any notice from medical providers that it was an option for light duties. Typically for us, if we're having someone back, we need someone back pretty much at 100% for the duties that are required.
I'd like to ask a question as well. With these physical issues that occurred, is there any indication that there can be a full recovery? The issues that you described were very, very serious. You're talking about a neck injury, and you talk about being able to return. Is what you receive from the doctors, is there the possibility of you making a full recovery?
Are you asking me? You're asking me that question?
Yes.
Oh, yes, there is. I'm in physical therapy right now, and I have a herniated disc that I just had a epidural put into a couple, like 2-3 days ago. But I haven't been told that I won't be able to work ever again, or not be able to do my job ever again. I'm still going through the process.
So I'm just gonna change this. I'm really, Julie, when he was sent for a medical, was there any indication from that doctor that he could make full recovery from the injuries?
I'm going to defer to Erica on that question.
Well, I haven't read the specific details of the IME. From the IME, there was no return to work date provided, and at this point and that point, there was a diagnosis or a determination of temporary total disabled. But there was no return to work date or nothing specified regarding if and when he could return to full duty.
Thank you.
David, you're muted if you're asking a question. Nicole, do you mind if I ask just one quick follow-up? So is it possible, it just seems strange to me that, again, it's back to the qualifying for the FMLA. Is there a reason as to why there were not enough hours for him to have qualified for FMLA? Had he been out on any sort of leave prior to the year prior to his injury?
I might be able to help answer that, just because the time frame.
Mhm.
So when he used leave pursuant to the contract from January when he was injured until June, when that leave was exhausted pursuant to the contract. I think it was like 6 months of leave. And then at that point, if you look back, as Julie mentioned, the board's policy is a rolling look back. So it looks back 1 year from that June date. He had only been working 6 months of that time period.
Okay.
And so that's why, another custodian who maybe had not been injured would have qualified because they were
Okay.
working a full year.
That makes sense. Cause I'm like, this doesn't match with
Yeah.
what Thomas is saying. I'm like, what? So, all right.
Yeah,
Thank you for clarifying that, Sarah.
of course. Nicole?
So if you feel comfortable sharing with us, you mentioned that you've had to have a series of surgeries and you most recently had one 6 weeks ago. Is that the last planned surgery or are there any future surgeries that remain?
Nicole, can I just interrupt a minute? I just want
Yeah.
to make sure we're following process. Sarah, at this point, are we only directing questions towards the administration, or can it go back to the employee?
Just for ease, if there's any final questions for the administration, let's kind of wrap that up and then we can, I want you to have your questions answered, so then we can go back to Mr. Seminaro and to the union, but just so that Erica and Phil and Julie can finish answering any questions that are specific to the administration.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Nicole, if you could just hold and we'll go just make sure there are no further questions for the administration. Are there any for the administration?
Okay, seeing none, I also want to give, and we can do questions first, or we can do this, but the union or the administration, if you have any rebuttal, both parties get an opportunity for rebuttal. But you can just answer questions instead of your rebuttal as well, if that's better. So I'll just let.
I'll just, if we want to get it on record, I don't know, and I'm asking, Tommy can answer this better, but did you ever apply for a leave of absence?
I never did. No.
This is only stemming from an accepted workers' comp injury.
That's it.
All right, Nicole, do you want to ask your question, and then if there's anybody else?
Yeah, so just to if you feel comfortable sharing if your future medical plan anticipates or if you expect to have another surgery or if the one that you most recently had was the last one and do you know what more is required until a change in your physical abilities?
I don't plan on having any other surgeries. I'm going through physical therapy right now. And so I pray to God I don't have to have another surgery. I can't, it's a lot of trauma for me. So that's basically where I sit with my health as far as injuries, none that I'm aware of. I just have a herniated disc in my back that I just got a injection for, and I'm going to PT for mobility on my neck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Will the herniated disc affect your ability to lift though? I mean, those are very painful and I'm sorry you're experiencing that. But will that affect your ability to do the heavy lifting jobs?
That remains to be seen. They're hoping that this epidural, works and it doesn't bother me any further. So they're kind of working on my neck and the back at the same time. But I'm hoping that it doesn't require anything else. I want this over with more than anyone.
I understand that. I'm recovering from rotator cuff surgery too. Not fun.
No.
Any other questions? All right, with that, I'll give the administration an opportunity for rebuttal if there is any, but you feel free to pass on if you don't have any.
I don't have anything. Julie, Phil, do you have anything? No.
And then finally, before we wrap up the evidentiary portion, as I mentioned in the beginning, both parties do get the opportunity to give general closing remarks. I know we've already had a lot of conversation and discussion. But if there's anything either party wants to add at this point as kind of a general closing remark, this will be the time to do so. We'll start with the association. So either Rob or Mr. Seminaro.
As far as the closing for the union's perspective is, again, I disagree with the assessment that he asked for an indefinite leave as an ADA accommodation. He did not. I was at that meeting. He said he was willing to do light duty, that no one would accommodate him to this point. So I disagree with that statement.
All right, anything else on your end?
No, I appreciate you guys listening to what I had to say. And like I said, I love my job and I always will. And I hope that, someone will give me a chance or let me finish this process and go back to doing what I love to do.
Thank you. Erica and the administration, do you have any final closings you want to add?
Yes, please.
Sure.
In closing, I just want to get service to the Weston Public Schools. I know it's been a very difficult process for him, and we as a district approached it with respect for his service and for the challenges he has faced. At the same time, the district does have a responsibility to evaluate the situation with the parameters of our contractual obligations, applicable laws, and the operational needs of the schools. Over the course of nearly 2 years, we provided all statutory and required contractual leave available to Mr. Seminaro, as well as more than 1 full year of additional unpaid leave beyond these lawful requirements. We engaged with him in an interactive process, and we have afforded multiple opportunities for him to provide information, updates, proposed accommodations, and/or medical documentation from his providers. Despite these efforts, there still remains no medically supported return to work date. And again, the request is a continuation of this unpaid leave, which is inconsistent with the district's obligation to maintain essential operations of our schools. Custodial services are fundamental to ensuring safe, clean, and functional school facilities, and the district can't reasonably sustain an indefinite vacancy without compromising its operational responsibilities, and maintaining a safe and clean learning environment requires consistent staffing. Therefore, we remain grateful for Mr. Seminaro's years of service and genuinely empathize with his circumstances, but the district must act in a manner that upholds our accountability and service to students.
Thank you. So with that, at this time, the evidentiary portion of the hearing is closed, and I'll send it over to Deb.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to ask for a motion to recess into a non-meeting for the purpose of conducting deliberations regarding this grievance. I'd also like the motion to include the invitation to invite Phil Cross, Julie Gavoni, Sarah Gleason, and Erica Forte into our non-meeting. Do I have such a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Sharon. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we are going to go into a non-meeting, which means I think we have to go into a different digital space. Thank everybody for your patience. This should not take more than about an hour. We will.
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to know if we're supposed to leave this or just mute and video off.
No, we leave.
You can actually log off. I'm
Yeah.
going to keep this Zoom open and running for the remainder of the people. And when you're done with that other meeting, you come right back on here.
Thank
Right.
you.
Okay?
Because this is a special Board of Ed meeting that we're adjourning to a non-meeting, I
Mhm.
need to let people know that we anticipate this being this recess, this non-meeting being around an hour. So in other words, we will be back. All right, so we are now going to a non-meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Tommy and Rob will be back in a moment. Thank you.
All right.
Hello, everybody.
They're all coming back, Jody.
Okay. All right. All right, everybody's popping back in.
Jody, do we need to let Rob know we're back, or? I see he's not on the call.
No, I do not see Rob here. I do not have his number to text him.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Do you have his number to let him know that we're ready?
I let him know, and he said that to tell you guys that he has negotiations at 4, but I told him that you just came back now, so
Okay.
I don't know if he's going to pop in or not.
Okay.
If he's unable to because of negotiations, which I understand, we can proceed without him. I mean, we don't need him to speak or anything, and you can relay the information to him, or I can do it as well after.
So he doesn't have to be present.
He doesn't have to be. No, I mean, we can tell him the outcome. The board's just going to give their ultimate decision, and then it'll close down the meeting. So this should be fairly short, but we can communicate with him afterwards.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Then I think we have a quorum of the board present. So at 4:07, I am calling the Board of Education special meeting back to order. Mr. Seminaro, thank you so much for speaking with us this afternoon. This is a really difficult situation. Please believe us when I say that we honor your service and your 22 years of experience and dedication to the Weston schools. The board has deliberated, I think, very carefully, looking at the situation from all different angles, considering all the evidence that we have heard this afternoon. Having said that, I'm going to ask for a motion.
Can I motion?
Yes.
Moved that the Board of Education deny the grievance filed by Thomas Seminaro and Local 1303-110 of Council for AFS CME AFL-CIO on or around October 6, 2025. The Board of Education directs Deborah Lowe to confirm the board's decision to Thomas Seminaro and to the union in writing and consistent with the board's deliberations concerning this matter on or before December 26, 2025.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Is there a second for the motion?
I second.
Thank you, Lisa. At this point, all board members in favor of the motion made by Nicole, please raise your hands. Anyone opposed? All right, that makes it unanimous with the board members. And that concludes this session. Mr. Seminaro, I can only imagine your disappointment, but again, please know that we very carefully considered this situation, and we absolutely respect your years of service with the Weston Public Schools. And we hope if you look down the road to the future that you will look at other opportunities that may exist within the district, and we sincerely hope you give them some consideration. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I so move.
Thank you, Sharon. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Lisa. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.